Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone to the June 27th council meeting of the City of Mayfield Heights. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balestria.
Present.
Mr. DeJohn.
Here.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Monaco.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Mrs. Teresi.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is the approval of the minutes from the special council meeting of May 2nd. I hope everyone has had time to read these minutes over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mr. Monaco. Are there any suggested changes or deletions or additions to these minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? These minutes have been approved as written. Next, we will move to the approval of the minutes from the council meeting of May 23rd, 2022. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Are there any changes or deletions or amendments to these minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain. I was absent from the meeting.
All right. These minutes have now been approved. Next, we will move to the approval of the minutes from the council meeting of June 13th, 2022. Has everyone had time to read these minutes over? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Tressi, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Any changes or deletions to these minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? These minutes have now been approved. Next, we will move to correspondence and announcements. And I would like to thank Sean and the Parks and Recreation Department, our Service Department and Safety Forces, and all of our volunteers for making our city community days and parades such a success. A lot of work goes into this, and it should not go unnoticed. So thank you all for everything you did. Does any council member have any comments? Mr. Mano?
I was going to use that as a part of the report tonight, but I just wanted to say that everybody that participated did a great job. There were no incidents of any kind, thanks to the presence of our new police chief and his staff of people. There had been rumors floating around that there could be a problem, but there was none. Did a terrific job of keeping everybody policed and safe. There was a nice abundance of food, and everybody just pitched in, and it was a good event. The weather cooperated, and I look forward to the next one. It was great. Thank you. So, and the administration too deserves a kudo for all the burgers he flipped.
Thanks, Don.
Are there any other comments from council? Okay, we'll start with reports from the office of the mayor, beginning with the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. Thank you for attending tonight's meeting. I just, my first paragraph of my report this evening was going to be about Home Days or Unity Days, and what a great event it was. I hate to reiterate what everyone else said, but yeah, everybody pitched in between the police, the fire department, service department, Parks and Recreation, worked their tails off, and we really thank them for everything they did. It was a very successful event. Rain held out, got the parade in. A few drops on Sunday didn't seem to hurt too much. We pretty much got through the weekend unscathed. So, and I think the format was very well received with the inflatables and the change in format. So, from what I heard from the residents anyway. So, it was a very nice event. I want to thank everybody who pitched in. And Don was a champ. I think he had a job at McDonald's before this. Was that it? Flipping burgers before? No, but thanks to everybody who contributed.
Could use them.
We did hold a groundbreaking for the new Aquatic and Community Center on Friday, June 21st. Representatives from AM Higley, Level Heads, the GPD Group were all present, along with members of council, myself. It was a fun event. It was great to see the kickoff to this project. So next year, hopefully, we'll be cutting the ribbon before this time next year. McDonald's is holding a grand reopening on Thursday, June 30th. Patrons of the restaurant will enjoy the remodel and updates. And Mr. Filio, who has owned and operated the restaurant, as we all know, for over 60 years, has been a huge part of Mayfield Heights through the years. So we want to congratulate him and thank him for his continued presence in the city. And another new business opened this month, Merge City Church, moved into 5009 Lander Haven earlier this month. So we wish them well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the mayor? Mrs. Sabetta?
I just received an email. They are changing the date of the opening of McDonald's. And it's going to be Tuesday after 4th of July. Just came today.
July 5th.
I stand corrected. I didn't see my email.
Okay.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. Yep, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay. All right. Law Director, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Director of Finance, Mrs. Fagan.
Thank you. I do have a few quick things I would like to mention. First of all, we are moving forward with our note issuance for the Aquatic Center. Tomorrow is our rating call with Moody's Investment Services. We'll actually be doing the sale probably the second week of July, and I'll keep you all up to date on that. Second of all, very exciting for our department, our software conversion is on time, and we're ready to roll with go live this Friday. So kudos to my department, who has worked so very hard to make this all possible, and to all the departments that are really embracing the new technology. Third thing I wanted to mention, the tax budget is on the agenda tonight. Just to reiterate, this is not the operating budget for the city at all. We'll start the operating budget process the end of August, beginning of September. We have some timing issues this year, but we will hopefully shoot for that time frame, and that budget process will be in the new software. And then finally, I know that summer recess is coming up for council for July and August. I did want to remind everybody, though, that we did send out an earlier email that it looks like we will probably need a meeting on July 25th, but we'll keep you up to date on that also, just so that you know, so that you can hopefully keep your schedules free. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Fagan? Next, we will move to reports of commissions, boards, and committees, beginning with the Building Committee. Mr. Monaco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had no meeting, this month, but I contacted the building commissioner, and I encouraged him to work on a new permit fee schedule. I know that he's been very busy, getting settled in, and I know we're going into a real busy season right now, but I think it's kind of very important that we schedule a meeting in a very near future to discuss the fees, because we are by far the lowest, we have the lowest fees of any community in the surrounding area, so.
Great. Thank you. You'll notify us if that meeting, when that meeting
will.
is
Absolutely.
set. Okay, great. Thank you. Finance and Audit, Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report.
Thank you. Legislative Committee, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The Legislative Committee met this morning to discuss amendments to the Mandatory Retirement Codified Ordinance, full-time police and firefighters, and the Auxiliary Police Codified Ordinance, removal of resident requirement. The amended recommendations and the meeting minutes are being prepared for council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabetta. Are there any questions? Public Works and Service, Mr. Balistreo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Public Works and Services Committee did not meet. However, things are going forward with the roads and sidewalk programs, as you can see in the city. A lot of things taking place on SOM. We're waiting additionally for another bid to come in for the rest of the road program, and rest assured that will get done this year if it comes in timely. So that's my report.
Perfect, thank you. Recreation.
Madam President?
Oh, Mr. DeJohn.
Mr. Balistrete, I sent out an email to you, Mr. Gerson. I think I CC'd everyone on council about some curbs that were not replaced on Parker that should have been. I don't know if Mr. Gerson's gotten back to you or.
Mr. Gerson.
Yeah, I replied to your email this afternoon if you want to take a look at that and reply to that. But yeah, there was some curb over on, I forget the address you had, but on Parker. I did look at it. It was a sandstone curb. The top looks like it was deteriorated. Probably should have been replaced. I can work with the service department to have it replaced. The contractor wasn't paid for that work, so it's not a matter of where he was paid for something he didn't do or did do.
All right, thank you. In just my opinion, I'd like to see any streets with sandstone have all new curbs put in, because it's just, you just can't repair those type of curves. It really doesn't.
We can look at that next year. I don't know if there's sandstone curbs on some of the streets. There probably is, but we wouldn't have anticipated that. But if there's an area this year that comes up, I can address it with you if there's an additional cost.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay, Recreation Parks, Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no formal reports. My comments earlier were suffice. Thank you.
Thank you. Safety and Transportation, Mrs. Tressi.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Safety and Transportation Committee has not met, so I have no report.
Thank you. Board of Zoning Appeals, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The Board of Zoning met on June 14th. There are several items on the agenda this evening. Council should have the meeting minutes. I do encourage all applicants to present and address council during the public portion of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Sabetta? Planning Commission, Mr. Balistreo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning Commission did not have an agenda last week, so we did not meet, so I have no report.
Thank you. Mayor?
Madam Chair, yeah. Before you go on, I did want to add something to my report I forgot to mention. Very important. Al Rose, who was a very important part of our senior subcommittee for Parks and Recreation, passed away last week, the 22nd. Al was a great guy, a bundle of energy, full of ideas, and he was just great for the committee. And we're sorry to see him go, but I'm sure he's dancing someplace. But just if I could read from his obituary real quick, Alan very much enjoyed the social aspect of his life. He loved to dance, attend live music festivals and social events, and he was a volunteer at many places. So Al, we'll miss you, and Godspeed. That's it.
Thank you. That's so sad. He was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he was.
He loved life, right? Okay. All right, on that note, we will move to comments from the public. We will now, pursuant to city code, each person will be allotted 5 minutes to speak, with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for the entire public portion. If you are here in connection with an agenda item, this is your opportunity to speak. However, please note that this is not an opportunity for debate or personal attacks or slighted comments. If you would like to be heard this evening and have not done so already, please fill out the form located at the back table of the public entrance of the council chambers. And during this public portion, I will call each of you up. Please state your name and address for the record and speak clearly into the microphone. It is now 7:15, and we will open up the public portion. I have Mr. Paul Lewis.
My name is Paul Lewis, and I reside at 1429 Lander Road. The violation that I wanted to comment about was my temporary fence, which is located in the front yard of our house, which is set back off the road, and we don't have a backyard. I have a garden of daylilies. Daylilies are a very specific perennial that bloom in July and August. I have collected daylilies for over 20 years. Unfortunately, the deer started showing up more and more. The population has continued to grow every year, and I tried to do everything to stop them from eating the garden. I have used sprays, granules, motion detecting sprinklers, but I found the best prevention to be fencing. As you can see from the photograph in your packet, our house is set back from the street and we have no backyard. The area in front of the house is the only area for gardening. Last year was the first I installed a temporary fence during the bloom season and it worked. I took the fence down in November, and during the bloom season it prevented any deer damage. The fence was purchased in 2021 and 2022, as you can see from the attached receipts in your packets, and it is in excellent condition. My garden is in bloom in July and August. If I were to take down the fence now, it would be a feeding frenzy for the deer. I would respectfully ask to be allowed to keep the fence up until September 13th. I have applied for a variance and am scheduled to appear at the board meeting on September 13th. I would appreciate your consideration in this matter. All of our neighbors have responded either through emails or letters indicating the fence isn't a problem. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. During, when it comes up before us, we can ask questions.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Talbot.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Telbin, 6470 Gates Mills Boulevard. I hadn't planned to speak until I heard about the inflatables. So I thought I'd give you some feedback because I was there on Friday night. I don't know when they were supposed to set up, but it was 7 o'clock and they still hadn't had everything set up. And I ended up talking to some people there. And one was a young woman with her 2 children. She's pretty distraught that she brought her kids up there and that the inflatables were still not up and running. And she said, I paid for this band. I said, oh, what'd you pay? She said, $15. I said, oh, for the whole weekend? She says, no, just for tonight. And I said, I'd ask for my money back. And she said, I said, if you don't do something to let them know, they're not going to realize it. So I just wanted to let you know that I encouraged her to ask for her money back. And she said, you know what? I think that's a good idea. So you need to know whoever was setting it up. I don't know what their timeline was, but people expected it to be ready and it wasn't. So you just need to know that. And then I will just comment on the deer and the daylily because I have 2 huge daylily beds and they have arrived, the deer, you know. So it is a problem.
Thank you. I believe that, didn't the company, I can maybe start answering a little bit of this. I believe that they broke down on the highway. That's true, Sean? And that was the reason that they were not here in a timely fashion. So, yeah, I found that out, and I discussed it with him, and he told me that was what happened. So, thank you for letting us know. Is there anybody else that would like to be here?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I saw you fill it out. I was going to tell you to bring it up.
You know, I came in the side door and I didn't know you had
That's
to fill out
okay.
to speak.
That's okay. Thank you. You could, yeah, definitely. Bill Halsman? Okay, thank you.
I represent Apex. We're installing a sign. We'd like to install a sign that's before you today, dress for raw stress. I know that the Board of Zoning Appeals has recommended that the sign is too big. Today, we received drawings reducing the size of those letters on the front of the building from 6 foot to 5 foot. And we will make a, reapply to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and hopefully that'll meet the spirit of what you'd like to have in the shopping center.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to be heard this evening? Okay, it is now 7:20, and I will close the public portion. We'll begin with resolution number 2022-44. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-44, a resolution adopting the alternative tax budget information format for the City of Mayfield Heights, State of Ohio, for the fiscal year 2023, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano.
Second.
Second by Mr. Balistreo. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balistreo, second by Mrs. Tressi. This is an alternative tax budget that was prepared by our finance director. I'm going to defer her for any additional comments or questions from council. You heard from her in her report. Does any member, Mrs. Tressi?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mrs. Fagan, just a quick question. I know you said this is not our budget, but the tax budget, but I'm looking at that statement of fund activity, and the line item is the American Rescue Plan Fund that was beginning at $1,050,000, and expenditures $1 million, and then there's 50,000 left. Am I correct in what I'm
Those
reading?
numbers are just placeholders at this point in time till we have final decision on how those funds will be received. The balance is larger because by the end of July is when we should be getting our second tranche payment in on that. So once we get that in, that'll build that fund up to approximately that amount.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did we decide what direction we would go with use of that money?
I don't think we've had a final decision on that, no.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any further, Mrs. Tressi?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Fagan, is the same true for the corridor fund? That's was that-
Correct, those are monies that are already sitting there in that fund, and we budget to use them through the year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution 2022-44 has been approved. Moving to resolution number 2022-45, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-45, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights in denying the appeal of Kyle McDonald, 1429 Lander Road, from the Building Department's property maintenance violation notice dated May 31, 2022, regarding the front yard fence on the property. Cuyahoga County permanent parcel number 861-13-074.
Yes. Mr. Murphy.
Go a little out of order here, but considering the remarks made by Mr. Lewis during the public portion, I would like to take another look at the actions of the building director and the variance potential, and so I would request that it be tabled right now for further consideration until I can take a legal look at it.
Do I have a motion to table? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mr. DeJohn. Roll call on the motion to table.
Mrs. Ter-
Hold on one second.
Can I make a comment on the citation before that?
After I call him.
After
Okay.
the roll is called, there's no discussion on the tabling.
Roll call on the motion to table.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution 2022-45 has been tabled. Mr. Monaco.
Thank you. I am looking at this violation, and I'm really troubled by it. The citation it was mailed or and delivered to the resident. It's a violation that it's derived from the Property Maintenance Code and the sections 3.302.7, accessory structure. So the resident of this property was cited because his fence was in disrepair.
Right.
So he was ordered to repair, remove, or replace, and then it says remove fence in the front yard. Well, which one is it? Is he gonna repair it? Is he gonna remove it? Or is he gonna replace it? I mean, you got your option here. By looking at your fence doesn't need any repair or any replacement. It's in great shape. I think that the building department dropped the ball when they cited you, and they cited you the wrong section. The section that you should have been cited for would have been section 1393.01. And this one states that it adopts the 2012 edition of the Residential Code of Ohio. But most importantly, I think the section that really pertains to you will be the section 1183.05, which states that a temporary fence is allowed in a rear yard only and from April 1st through November 15th. You were never cited for this. So they basically cited you because your fence was in disrepair. So I don't know how the Board of Zoning Appeals sided with the building inspector when he cited you the wrong section. So I believe the building department should retract the citation, and if they want to, they should cite you again under the new citation. But in all fairness, if you're allowed to keep your fence from April 1st to November 15 in the backyard, and your yard sits that far back, and you wish to keep it for how long? Just till November. I personally do not have a problem with that. But again,
Mr. Monaco, we can have conversation. If you want him to come up to the podium, he can do that.
okay, I'm done. I'm done.
Well,
It's
you
just
can
that-
continue, go
It's
ahead.
just that, the wrong section was cited. This case should have been dismissed, should have never even went to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And I'd like to ask Mrs. Sabetta, how was this upheld, based on what?
So, Ms.
Well,
No, let me address that, please. The proceeding that was followed was, he was cited, and the procedure is, if you are cited and you want to appeal that citation, you go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. That is the procedure provided in the codified ordinances. That's what Mr. Lewis did, and the procedures were followed correctly. At that point, then, the BZA heard the evidence that was presented by Mr. Lewis regarding whether or not there was a violation, and the BZA, in its discretion, determined that there was a violation and that the building director's determination should be upheld. So that is what is before council. Whether or not council believes that the ordinances are incorrect or the citation was incorrect, that will be brought up when the matter is heard. Right now, it's been tabled, and it's not appropriate to discuss it even at this point.
So, one additional question.
Ms.
When the Board of Zoning Appeals looked at this violation, they determined that the fence was in disrepair because that was before them.
So, Mr. Monaco, I think Mr. Murphy just stated that we can't have the conversation because we've tabled the item, but that is one of the reasons why we tabled it, because he would like to research this more for the applicant, and hopefully we could figure something out for everybody. Okay? Thank you.
One last, I promise it's going to be the last one. On the citation that the resident was given, he should have had the opportunity.
Madam Chair, the law director just said we're not supposed to discuss this.
Okay, I'm done.
It will have to be removed from table in order to permit discussion. Done.
Okay.
Proceed.
Next, we will move to resolution, hold on. Let me get back to a minute. 2022-46, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-46, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights in denying to Michael Holzman, Apex Pinnacle Services, on behalf of Ross Dress for Less and H.H. Golden Gate LLC, 1565 Golden Gate Plaza, a variance to install 252 square feet of W1 signage on the front wall of the building. Cuyahoga County Permanent Parcel Number 862-30-001. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mr. DeJohn. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea, second by Mrs. Tressi. The request was denied for the reason the applicant failed to present a practical difficulty for the sign, and this was a unanimous vote. Mrs. Sabetta, did you want to add anything to this?
Yes, allowed type W1 signage is 100 square feet on the front facade. The request is 252 square feet of signage with 6-foot letters. That's 152 square foot variance. That's double the size of lettering given previous tenants for sign variances. The applicant did not demonstrate practical difficulty. It was unanimous denial. 4 members present.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Sabetta? Okay, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This motion has been carried. Resolution number 2022-47, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-47, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights in denying to Michael Holzman, Apex Pinnacle Services, on behalf of Ross Dress for Less and H.H. Golden Gate LLC, 1565 Golden Gate Plaza, a variance to install 138 square feet of W2 signage on the rear wall of the building. Cuyahoga County Permanent Parcel Number 862-30-001. And yes, there was a typo. It's the rear wall, not the front wall.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. DeJohn, second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mrs. Tressi. This request was denied for the reason that the applicant failed to present a practical difficulty for the sign size. This was also a unanimous vote from the BZA. The applicant did speak during public portion and would like to go back to the BZA with a different request. So does any member, Mrs. Sabetta, did you want to add anything to this?
I think he was going back for the front sign. This
Right,
is the
I
rear
meant the
sign.
two things that he was going to.
Oh, wait, okay.
Mrs. Snyder?
This, yeah, this was allowed type W2 signage is 24 square feet The request is 138 square foot signage. The applicant stated visibility as the practical difficulty. The board saw no I-271 visibility, no customer entrance or parking. No other business has a back wall signage. It's a 114 square foot variance with unanimous denial. 4 members present.
Thank you. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr.
Oh,
Man,
Mr. Balestra, did you
Thank
want
you,
to add
thank
something?
you. I think Mrs. Sabetta answered my question. I don't believe any of those businesses have rear signage at all along that property.
They have
And I just
small
wanted a clarification. They do,
Small signs on their doors,
if they have an entrance, right?
but it's an employee or a small door.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestra.
Yes?
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution 2022-47 has been approved. Moving to Resolution 2022-48, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-48, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights in granting to Debbie Cruz, 1178 Elmwood Road, a variance to construct an 8-foot roof over a porch in the front yard. Cuyahoga County Permanent Parcel Number 861-12-038. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mrs. Tressi. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Balestra.
Yes?
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestra, second by Mrs. Sabetta. This was a 3-to-1 vote. Motion was granted by the BZA. It was stated that the strict enforcement of this motion would impose on the owner, and there would be a practical difficulty for this resident. And Mrs. Sabetta, would you like to add to this?
Yes. This is an existing patio. It's allowed 5 foot from the front wall of the building. The applicant requests a 3-foot variance as to not disturb the patio with the roof posts. The applicant will need roof approval from the ABR, considering this is a porch. Use of the front patio into a front porch, morning sun into shade, and covering for the elements. Notice this is a reconsidered vote after we had discussion concerning patios and porches and the applicant going to ABR. One of the members wanted to reconsider their vote. So it is 3-to-1, final to approve, and 4 members were present.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Sabetta? Mr. DeJohn?
So what was exactly the reason to reconsider other than they were going to go to the Architectural Board of Review? Or how did all that come about after you took a vote and it was denied and then you came back and reconsidered it?
A member wanted to reconsider his vote, and we allowed it due to the fact we distributed that it was a patio turning into a porch.
Can-
And he had decided that since it was that and they were going to the ABR, he wanted to change his vote.
And do you know why Mr. Kramer denied this? Did he give any reason?
No, he did not.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Mrs. Tressi?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mrs. Sabetta, it says on the application that they want to do an awning over a patio. So it really, and I drove by, it's just a piece of concrete. It's not raised, it's not covered, or, and it says proposal requests a variance for an awning over a patio. So how is it determined it's a porch? If they
Because
wrote down
it's-
that it was a patio themselves.
It states right in there, wait a second, that it is a roof. It is not an awning. I did mention that many times. What are we talking about? An awning, aluminum, and she mentioned that it is a roof, and it is of wood and permanent.
That's what she wants to build.
That's what is going to be built.
But on the application, it says request a variance for an awning over a patio in the front of the house.
Porch patio.
Well, here, yeah, I saw
Say
porch
awning.
patio there. And on the
Okay.
front, it says patio.
It says, in a U1 district, a one-story open or enclosed porch may be constructed between the building line and the street line.
And then
This
here it
is
says
what we
existing
worked
patio.
off, provided that no portion of the porch excluded steps is built more than 5 feet. The reason for denial and coming to the BZA was a one-story open or enclosed porch may be constructed between the building line and the street line, provided no porch or portion excluding steps is built more than 5 feet beyond. These are the two references we were given.
Mr. Monaco?
I just want to warn everybody that this is a structure, this is a building that it's going to be built onto the setback. The setback was designed for a reason, and I'm afraid that if we allow this, we open up a Pandora box for anybody else to start building something in the front yard, and I think it's a bad idea.
Mrs. Sabetta, did this come up, like, in depth at the meeting? Talking about it being a building or a structure more than just an awning?
Well, the request and the permit that was sent to the owner states the request is to install a roof on the front patio extending 8 feet from the front building line. Max front extension is 5 feet from the building line. Building department considers slab on grade a patio cannot have a covered patio in the front of the house. It's a 3-foot variance. That's why she's at the BZA. She wants to make her patio a porch.
What was her is there a practical difficulty?
It was, her practical difficulty was morning sun into shade, covering for the elements, and turning the patio into a front porch. Other homes have this same patio.
It's true. Mr. Mano?
If her concern is morning sun and elements, why, it would be much cheaper to put an awning over that that can be removed for the winter months, and it's a temporary situation. If you're gonna build a roof on it, that's permanent.
Yes, that's what she's
I
looking.
agree with Mr. Monaco on that. You're gonna set a precedent that you're gonna have a hard time breaking. You'd be better off to just have an awning put on there, temporary.
Well, I wish
I
the
think-
building, but I don't
I
think
think
she
what-
can have an awning.
So I think what we're going to do,
Awning is
yeah,
allowed.
I would like to call to table this. I think that there's some questions that we all have that we can't answer without our building director here.
Move the table.
Yeah, so if I would like to move to table it.
So I just have one
Oh,
comment
oh
before you
yeah,
go ahead.
before we do that, Mr. DeJohn.
So, Mrs. Sabetta, can you just let the BZA know that I'd like to see more notes on when a vote's reconsidered and why it's reconsidered? If you can do that for me, I'd greatly appreciate that. Because there's
What would
really
you
no
like to
notes
see?
in-
We can't hear you.
When they reconsider a vote, why they reconsidered it, I'd like to see some notes regarding that reconsideration by the BZA, which there's no notes here, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Mr. Balestra?
I think the confusion that I'm hearing as well as that I feel is the definition between a porch and a patio, and it sounds like the BZA had that discussion, but that's not reflected in the minutes as to what that conclusion was. So maybe we need a clarification as to the differentiation in the ordinance between porch and patio, and it seems the applicant wants to change the definition of what she has as being a patio to a porch so that she can get this variance on the front of her house. I mean,
Madam
that's the way
President.
I'm reading it.
Actually, they did look it up in Wikipedia, and it is considered a porch.
Interesting, okay.
A roof over cement was considered a porch.
You know,
Mrs.
That's what I-
Yeah, Mr. Murphy?
I have our ordinance here, and I'm looking quickly, trying to see the difference between porch and patio, and I don't have enough time to do that. So I would agree, table it, and we'll come back with more information for council.
And then I know, Mrs. Tressi, you had your hand up. Did
Thanks,
you wanna
Madam
say
Chairman.
something?
Typically, we just go by the application, and we have always in the past stuck with whatever the homeowner has written on their application and what they're applying for. And many times we have voted according to what they've written because they're getting guidance when they go into the building department to make their application. And this, there's a picture here, or a drawing, and the applicant wrote, "New roof over existing patio."
And he said awning in the front page. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we
It's-
definitely need to look at
Right.
that.
I'm sure they're going to go back and change it all to porch so they can get the variance, but nonetheless, apparently the homeowner thinks it's a patio.
Okay.
Again, can
Mrs.
I-
Sabetta.
Yes. Okay, so I think they do have a new zoning denial notice, which is new in our packet, and I think council should be privy of this, because it explains the description and the violation notes and the denial. And this is new. And also the variance on the bottom. So I think that I'll take that back, that maybe you need this.
Yes,
also
I
in
think
your
that's good.
packet.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Monaco?
If I may clarify this, the owner had a patio there, it was a stamped concrete patio. What she would like to do, she would like to put a structure over that to turn that into a patio. Once that you do that, then you have unlimited possibilities because you can install some windows, some screens, now it's a room. And now you'll be really encroaching into the setback. So again, in my opinion, that's a bad idea to set a precedent like this.
I think before that this person would have to do all that, or could do all that, they'd have to go to the architectural board.
They
They-
need to go to
they
the
wouldn't be
architectural
able to
review
do
board.
that.
Absolutely. But the first thing is they need a variance. If they were only 5 feet away from the front of the property, from the setback of the property, they would not require a variance, they would just need to go to the architecture review board.
Right.
But since they require a variance, the first step is to get a variance, and once that you have secured a variance, then the next step will be to go to the architecture review board.
That's a nice
right.
sheet.
That's exactly it, because
Mrs. Sabetta.
115909,
And you see what he wrote?
U1 district, one-story open or enclosed porch may be constructed between the building line and the street line, provided that no portion of such porch, excluding steps, is built more than 5 feet. She's looking for 3 more feet. She's allowed to do this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to table. Motion moved by Mr. no, we didn't have a second. We didn't have a second.
There's no second.
No. So it was Mr. Mano, second by Mr. DeJohn. Roll call on the motion to table.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes, this motion has been tabled. Moving to Resolution 2022-49, I will let Mrs. Teresi take over.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Resolution 2022-49, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Acting Chairman. Resolution 2022-49, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Mayfield City Schools, continuing the school resource officer program and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano, seconded by Mr. Monaco. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain?
Is there a motion to approve?
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta,
Second.
second by Mr. Bellistrea. Discussion. This is to continue the program that Mayfield schools have in place for school resource officer for the coming year. I believe we have a school resource officer in each school. Correct, school board member?
Lander.
Any other discussion?
question.
comments? Mr. DeJohn?
Thank you. This is probably to the chief. Chief, do you have drills in the school with these resource officers and all the teachers there and administrators?
We do.
Periodic drills?
It's been a few years since we conducted one. In fact, I just met with new security over at Gilmore Academy, and they invited us to run some drills over there. But we have done them at the middle school a few times. We include the school resource officer, and a lot of teachers participate too. It's voluntary on their end, but all our officers have participated.
Is it something that you can make it mandatory for the school to do this at least once a year, or does that come from the school board?
That would be through the school administration, yes. We can mandate that the officers go through the training. And it's a big undertaking. It's been a couple years since we've done it last, and myself and the captain have been putting it together. It looks like the earliest we're going to be able to really put something together will be this spring, maybe during spring break when the school's out.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Monaco?
Thank you. I have a question. On the resolution page, section number 4, and I read, "The city and Mayfield High School District shall split evenly the cost to provide the school resource officer to both schools, including the payment of salary and all fringe benefit, the total of approximately $112,000 for the 22-23 school year." Then I'm reading on the compensation and expenses, and it says the combined cost for both SROs, exclusive of overtime, for the term of this agreement is estimated to be $116,200. Based on this estimate, Mayfield Schools shall pay the city 1/2 of the actual amount paid on behalf of both SRO. So payment shall be made monthly to the city of the amount of $111,620 in 10 equal payments. So I think this, unless I'm reading wrong, there's a discrepancy here. And in section 4, it says that the cost of the city for the officer is $112,000 a year. And on the compensation part, it says that the total is $116,200, and that should be split evenly with the exclusion of the overtime between the city and the school.
Mr. Monaco, what we've done is the same formula we have used every year. We go through, we figure out the total compensation and benefits for the two officers involved. We take half of that for each of them, add it together, divide that through for the 10 months, and that's how we're coming up with, actually, it's $11,619.85, and it has been rounded for the purposes of this agreement.
But again, the question is, if,
On section 4. It says 112,000.
Approximately, it says approximately 112,000.
It's
It's already been reduced by a half.
Yeah, it does, I have 11,620 in my section 4. That the total cost is the 116,200 for the 10 months
To the city.
to the city, and then we're dividing that by 10 months to come up with the 11,620. If you'd like, I'd be happy to send you the calculations if you want to look at those.
So I guess these amounts then must be wrong because, again, here it says the combined cost for both SROs are 116,200. And based on this estimate, Mayfield School shall pay the city 1/2 of the actual amount paid on behalf of both SROs. So according to this, the city would be paying roughly less than $60,000 a year.
Mr. Murphy?
Excuse me, what you're missing is about halfway down, it says estimated total for school portion of year. There's 105 for one officer and 126 for the second officer. So that's a total of about 231,000. And then that is reduced by 50% because it's being split. So the total to the city for the first officer is 52,900, the second officer is 63. The grand total to the city, and look in the compensation area, not in the contract. It's where it's laid out. The total cost to the city is $116,000. And then you take that, divide it by 10 for 10 months, and it comes out to 11,600. And when the resolution was written, we didn't have the final figure, but it was going to be around 12,000.
So we don't have that figure here. I don't have that figure.
That's the grand total to the city of Mayfield Heights is $116,198.48.
What is it on my sheet? I don't see it here.
It's $12,000 per month.
And again, what is it written?
This is what he's talking about
Say-
here.
yeah.
It's
It says
116, but the resolution says
112,000.
112. So should the resolution be revised
If-
as to what we're approving?
We're saying on the page of the contract, it's 116. On the front of the resolution, it says 112,000. That's what Mr. Monaco's
If I-
been trying to explain.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may.
But nobody's listening.
I think part of it is, as I like to say, two people separated by common language. There's a section 4 in the agreement and a section 4 in the legislation. And that's where the confusion lies.
Correct.
Section 4 in the legislation says approximately, and it has that dollar amount in there. We can certainly update that to the 116.2. Section 4 of the actual agreement that we will be signing states 116,200, so that goes down to the 11,620 when you divide it out over the 10 months.
We need a motion to revise this resolution.
So, right.
Yeah.
we-
That would be appropriate, yes. I see what you're talking about there.
that's what
I
Mr.
thought you
Monaco
were
was trying
referring-
to
I
explain.
thought you were referring to the resolution.
No.
Okay.
No.
So the resolution should be amended to reflect that the monthly amount to the city of Mayfield Heights will be $11,619.85.
Well, the total is in the resolution.
Give me the total one more time, Mr. Murphy.
116.
$11,619.85.
So that's the monthly, the total.
The total is
116,200.
116,200.
Oh, okay. You want the $116,198.48.
So do we have a motion to amend Resolution 2022-49, Section 4, to read that the estimated amount will be approximately $116,200 for the 2022-2023 school year? Do we have a motion? Moved by Mr. Mano, seconded by Mr. Monaco. Roll call on the motion to amend.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain?
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes. This resolution, 2022-49, we have to have a motion to approve. Am I correct?
That's to amend.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Balistraya, seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to approve.
As amended.
As amended.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain?
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes. Now, Resolution 2022-49 has been adopted. Back to Mrs. Snyder, Council.
Okay. Mr.
President.
Murphy? Thank
Yes,
you.
I just wanted to clarify for the audience that President Snyder abstained for conflict. She had previously determined that she would have a conflict, so by the city's ordinances, she is not permitted to participate at all in any of the discussion regarding this resolution. That's why she turned the chairmanship over to Mrs. Teresi. And the preclusion about participating includes chairing the meeting, moving, seconding, and discussing at any point the legislation. So for the audience, that's why Mrs. Snyder turned the meeting over to Mrs. Teresi, because she knew she was going to abstain.
Thank you. All right, we will now move to resolution number 2022-50. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-50, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a development agreement with First Mainland Properties, LLC, outlining the rights, duties, and obligations of the parties in connection with the provision of financial incentives to acquire and develop the property formerly known as the Mayland Shopping Center and associated parcels, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second.
second by Mr. Belstrea. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Monaco, second by Mr. DeJohn. This resolution refers to the redevelopment of the Mayland Shopping Center property. Mayland LTD has requested the city to provide economic incentives to assist in acquiring the property and developing the property and ultimately placing Mayland property back into operating condition. By the adoption of Resolution 2022-12 on February 14th, 2022, the city declared their support for the redevelopment project and stated that it will provide aid to the developer to assist in completing this project. I will now defer this to Mr. Murphy for more details.
Thank you. The negotiations have been concluded regarding the agreement. There is one point that Mr. Balestrea pointed out to me today. On page 5, section G, where it indicates residential development, the requirement of the developer is that all future development will not include residential development of any kind in perpetuity. It was indicated that the mixed-use district would be permitted, but that's not what council had required. So there will be no residential development on the property, and that'll change the agreement. It doesn't change the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Are there any questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution 2022-50 has been approved. Moving to Resolution 2022-51, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-51, a resolution authorizing and approving GMP Amendment Number 4 to the agreement with the Albert M. Higley Company for the construction of the Mayfield Heights Aquatic Center and the Community Center and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta,
Second.
second by Mr. Belstrea. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria. Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mrs. Sabetta. This is approving the GMP Amendment Number 4 for the Aquatic Center. This is the overall cost for the pool portion of the project. It appears that this amount is slightly lower than the original amount proposed. The total cost is $6,243,295. Once again, this is a portion of the estimated cost for the pool-only portion of this project. Mrs. Tressi.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mrs. Fagan, when you make these interest payments, will the money come out of this $34 million?
Depending on what the total amount of contracts is, yes. We are borrowing $33 million in notes, so it would come out of that, or the other income tax proceeds that we've gotten in going to that fund when those notes get rolled over.
So it's, all of that is included in this $33 million,
Yes.
including like GPD's money and Mr. Trotta's money,
All of
everything.
it, yes.
Thank you.
Mrs. Snyder?
Mr. Belstrat.
I would like to know for the record if GPD, as our owner's rep to the city, approves the amendment.
I didn't hear you approve.
Oh, I think,
You know, if they're,
yeah, I think it was part of what.
Absolutely. Before anything comes
Okay.
before us, they look over to refer first and gives us that recommendation. So they have looked this over and definitely have approved it.
okay. I just want to make sure that, you know, they're consistent with being on the record that they're approving all amendments as we go along.
Not only the amendments, but every single payment we make along the
payments,
way
correct,
goes to them
right.
first.
Okay, thank you.
I believe they're going out for bids for this portion right now, the pool. The different, the different contracting, that's what he was telling me the other day.
We have the next section of, I'm not even sure what they all I'll include, the next section of the GMPs, and that's why we're thinking we will probably be requesting a meeting for that second meeting schedule in July, because that will give them enough time to get those in, to review them and make a recommendation to council.
Perfect, thank you. Mr. DeJohn, did you have your finger? Okay. I don't care. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
No.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
No.
Mr. Monaco.
No.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution has been approved. There are no ordinances tonight, and there are no motions this evening. We'll move to new business, and I would just like to note that the council will be on summer recess, and we tentatively have a meeting set for July 25th and possibly August 15th, I believe, if we need it, if we should need to have one. I would like to wish everyone a safe summer and happy 4th of July. Are there any other comments from council?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
I should state that the BZA is also in recess.
Okay, thank you. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Balestria.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Sabetta. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. This meeting has now been adjourned.
Welcome. You see what I said there? You understand what I said in the agreement? That means in perpetuity, when you're gone, when I'm gone, at least the next council, your heirs know